Hi everybody, I'm Lights Camera Jackson. Today is Sunday, June 10, 2018. Welcome to a new episode of LCJ Live. Coming up, is it going to be a big night for my friend The Sponge right here? Tony Awards predictions are on the way. The big show is tonight. Plus, will it be an incredible weekend for The Incredibles 2 opening on Thursday night? Actually, technically Wednesday night. We'll explain that coming up as well. And tons of movie trailers throughout this week. I'll give you a recap of some of them, plus some other big stuff happening this week. But first, gotta get to the box office. Your breaking news right now, Ocean's 8 is the #1 movie in America with $41.5 million. Now, technically speaking, this is the biggest opening weekend for any of the Ocean's movies. Those films came out 2001, 2004, 2007, the George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon movies, all opened in the high $30 million range, but none of them could cross $40 million until now. Ocean's 8, $41.5 million bucks, per screen average of about $10,000. I'd say that's pretty good. I'd say that's what Warner Brothers was hoping for, what they were expecting for sure. Ocean's 8, though, I thought was just an alright movie. To me, it was too nicey nice. And there were only two characters in the film that weren't so nicey nice. Gave you that extra depth, that gravitas, that energy. One of them was Anne Hathaway's character, Daphne Kluger, who wears the $150 million necklace that the other women are looking to steal. And the other character is the one played by James Corden. Now, I'm not going to give away exactly what his character is if you haven't seen Ocean's 8 yet, because he doesn't show up until 3/4 of the way through. But he is funny, and Anne Hathaway is terrific. Other than them, really, this is a flat movie. It's not that energized. It's actually not that complex. I was a little disappointed by it. All right, not great, but Ocean's 8 is your #1 movie in America with $41.5 million. Solo, a Star Wars story, dropped to second place this weekend, followed by Deadpool 2, both around the $13, $14, $15 million range. The other big new movie that opened up this weekend, Hereditary, the horror movie with Toni Collette, $13 million for its opening weekend. And I gotta say, that is a big, huge win for A24, because this is the biggest opening weekend ever for an A24 movie. They've never put out a film in this many theaters before, especially on its opening weekend. And I think the horror movie fans wanted to see how this one turned out, especially because of Toni Collette's performance. She does have a lot of showcase scenes in this movie, but they're kind of all spread out, and not everything in this movie gels together, even before the ridiculously insane I don't know what I just saw final act, which is borderline the same feelings I had coming out of Mother last September, which was ridiculous, insane, wild, yet I appreciated what Darren Aronofsky was trying to say with it. Couldn't quite get the same appreciation for much of this movie, though I did give them the same grades of C's, because based on everything, how it all added up. Could Toni Collette get in the Best Actress conversation later in the year? Maybe, but I can more see that from critics groups than the Academy. There are going to be 75, 80-year-old Academy members who see Hereditary and go, why in the world would I ever want to vote for this kind of movie? So that's what probably would happen with Hereditary. But it did make $13 million. I think that's very good for A24, a very good start. At Bob Hall, were you scared during Hereditary? No, I wasn't scared during Hereditary. I only jumped a little bit on one quick occasion. That's it. This isn't a film that tries to scare you. It tries to creep you out more than anything else. This is not really a horror movie. It's being advertised that way, but it is not really a horror film. Neither was Get Out. Neither was Mother. They were just creepy psychological thrillers and suspense thrillers in the case of Get Out. So, again, the term horror has been tossed around a lot these days and applied to movies that it really shouldn't apply to. Hereditary is not a horror movie, and if you're a 25-year-old guy looking to get scared, Hereditary is not the movie that's going to do that for you. You have to wait 90, 100 minutes until you get to the wacky final act, but even the wacky final act doesn't scare you, it just creeps you out. So there is a big difference there. So that's my take on Hereditary. I've got reviews of Ocean's 8 and Hereditary at lights-camera-jackson.com. Thanks at Albert57 for joining us here on LCJ Live. Going through the box office, Ocean's 8 is number 1. Hereditary opened in 4th. Avengers Infinity War, number 5. Adrift and Book Club, 6 and 7. The other new movie that opened up right here, Hotel Artemis, with Sterling K. Brown and Jodie Foster, had a bad opening weekend. $3.2 million. That is rough for this movie. I know there was a lot of marketing, there was a lot of promotion behind Hotel Artemis, and it just didn't do that well. $3.2 million. People wanted to see Ocean's 8 and Hereditary instead. I think it had big competition for sure. Rounding out your top 10 this weekend, Upgrade in 9th, and Melissa McCarthy in Life of the Party coming in at number 10. Now, another movie opened up on Thursday night into Friday, but only in 29 theaters, and that is the Mr. Rodgers documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor? I thought maybe this movie could do more than $1 million this weekend in its 29 theaters. It only managed $470,000, which is still all right. It made $16,000 per screen, one of the biggest per screen averages of the weekend. Documentaries are a tough sell, even for a film that has had a ton of promotion and will continue to expand into more theaters over the coming weeks. Did Ocean's 8 underperform really quickly? No, I think Ocean's 8 right in line with expectations. I thought Won't You Be My Neighbor underperformed slightly, but it could bounce back over the next several weeks because it's going to hundreds of more theaters. People want to see this Mr. Rodgers documentary. I really think they do. It's the 50th anniversary of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Lots of buzz surrounding it. The reviews out of Sundance were tremendous. I saw the film a week ago today at the Berkshire International Film Festival at the Mahawi Theater in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. And I want to thank all the folks at the Berkshire International Film Festival for their great hospitality and for showing some three good films. I got to see 3 good films at the festival last weekend, including Won't You Be My Neighbor. I didn't think the movie was outstanding. I had some minor issues with it. Some of their editing choices, how they end the film, I thought was a little odd, a little unusual, didn't quite work. But the spirit and the themes and the messages come through loud and clear. And you're right, at Bob Hall, that trailer gets you in. It sucks you in. It gets you into that emotional state of mind. I talked with producer Nicholas Ma at the showing last Sunday, and he was blown away by how Focus Features cut the trailer. He said the fact that they were able to capture the essence of Fred Rogers in trailer length blew our minds. It was amazing. Is the trailer better than the movie? That's a tough thing to say. But I didn't tear up during the movie. When I saw the trailer for the first time, I nearly teared up. So maybe my expectations were a little high. There are some minor issues I have with the film. But if you are a Mr. Rogers fan, if you've been with this Fred Rogers life story for 50 years, you got to see this movie when it comes to your city in the coming weeks. Won't You Be My Neighbor? $500,000 opening weekend. We'll see how it does over the coming weeks. My review of that is at lights-camera-jackson.com as well. So many movie trailers came out this week. I'm going to say 20. Like, there were literally 20 trailers that came out. One of them was First Man. It's the new Damien Chazelle movie, his follow-up to La La Land, starring Ryan Gosling. He plays astronaut Neil Armstrong. Gosling debuted the trailer on Jimmy Kimmel Live Game Night the other night, and Kimmel got to ask Gosling all these questions about making First Man. Ryan Gosling got to go to NASA. He got to do a bunch of training. He got to learn all the stuff that Neil Armstrong and the other astronauts went through when going to the moon. Great stories that Kimmel got to hear first, because for the next 9 months, reporters, hosts, analysts are going to be asking Ryan Gosling all these questions. What was it like going to NASA? What was it like doing all these stunts? Why did you have to go to the hospital because you had a minor concussion? All those kinds of questions that Kimmel got to ask him first, because this movie is probably going to take Ryan Gosling and Damien Chazelle to the Academy Awards once again. When is that? It's about 9 months away. So Gosling's going to hear all of this for the next 9 months, but Kimmel got it first. Think about that, studios. everybody out there, if you want to debut a trailer on a talk show for a big award season movie, you take advantage of those opportunities because they get the info and the conversations first. They get the inside details first. Thought that was really cool. Tonight, it's the Tony Awards. Wow. Can you believe that SpongeBob SquarePants, Mean Girls, and Frozen are 3 of the 4 best musical nominees this year? All big commercial properties. SpongeBob, of course, has been around for 20 years as a Nickelodeon staple. Frozen, the phenomenon Disney animated movie with a sequel on the way. And Mean Girls, the 2004 comedy with Lindsay Lohan, written by Tina Fey, and she wrote the book for this musical version as well. There are 3 of the 4 nominees. So the question is, do the Tony voters give in to one of those commercial properties, or do they go with the completely original new musical called The Band's Visit? My gut's telling me they're going to go with The Band's Visit simply based on the others, but SpongeBob won so many Drama Desk awards the other day that maybe the SquarePants guys got a chance. Maybe they will go all the way. Now, in the Best Play category, you have another huge commercial property, and that is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child Parts 1 and 2. Will that be the Best Play winner tonight? We'll have to see. Some of the big celebrities nominated for acting categories include Andrew Garfield for Angels in America, Mark Rylance for Farinelli and the King, and Denzel Washington for Eugene O'Neill's The Iceman Cometh, all Best Actor in a Play nominees. Amy Schumer is nominated Best Actress in a Play for Meteor Shower. That's the play's only nomination, written and created by Steve Martin. Tony Shalhoub, also nominated for a Tony Award tonight, along with the stars of the SpongeBob musical and the Mean Girls musical, Michael Cera, Brian Tyree Henry, Nathan Lane. Among your other Tony Award celebrity nominees, Laurie Metcalf, fresh off Lady Bird, has a Tony nomination tonight. We'll have to see how everybody does, and Tina Fey as well, for writing Mean Girls, is a Tony Award nominee. But the biggest buzz going into this show will be for 2 reasons. Number 1, Josh Groban and Sarah Bareilles are the hosts. Who hosted last year? Kevin Spacey. Are they going to make a Kevin Spacey joke? I think they're going to have to make a reference at some point, or maybe they want to completely distance themselves away from that. The other big thing is the boss. Bruce Springsteen is getting a special Tony Award for his one-man Broadway show that has broken box office records, that has stayed on, that is still doing more and more shows through the end of the year. Springsteen on Broadway. Bruce will be performing tonight. I think that's great. Let him do what he wants. Give him that Tony Award. Andrew Lloyd Webber is getting a special Tony Award as well. So it's going to be trending all night. Hashtag Tony Awards all over social media. So be there. Watch it 8 o'clock tonight on CBS. This year's Tony Awards. And I've got more analysis at lights-camera-jackson.com as well. This Wednesday night, Incredibles 2 is opening as part of an IMAX double feature with the original Incredibles. So technically, Incredibles 2 is out Wednesday at 8 p.m. Then, regular showings are Thursday starting at 5, and of course, all the way through the weekend. How will Incredibles 2 do? The answer is extremely well. Incredibles are here to save the summer movie season. They're here to make so much money, and the first real family film in the past 3 months or so. It's amazing. We haven't had an animated movie in 3 months. It's crazy. There's been a drought for family fare, and Incredibles 2 is here to save the day. My prediction, $150 million. Easily $150 million next weekend. If not, maybe more. This could be the biggest animated opening weekend of all time for an animated movie. Huge. Everybody's waiting for this, like Finding Dory 2 years ago for Pixar. The world has been waiting for 13 and a half years for Incredibles 2. What happened with them and the Underminer? What's going on with Jack and all his superpowers? What designs has Edna Mode been up to and making for the Parr family? We want to see all of that. Brad Bird is back directing and writing this movie and voicing Edna Mode. New characters as well, but the Parr family is back. The world's waiting for Incredibles 2. $150 million easily. And look, I think this movie total could make $600 million at the domestic box office. Easily passes $1 billion worldwide. Maybe $1.5 billion. not out of the question. Where is my super suit? Yes, Sam Jackson. Yes, he's back too as Frozone. We want to see the continuation of these characters, and the buzz coming out of the Hollywood premiere from the other night was very strong. Very strong for Incredibles 2. So it opens Wednesday night, 8 p.m. in the IMAX. Regular showings then Thursday at 5 p.m. all throughout this Father's Day weekend. It's going to be huge. Tag opening up for Warner Brothers next weekend. Who knows how much money that's going to make, because Incredibles 2 is going to dominate the screens for sure. I'll have my review of Incredibles 2 this week. It is going to be a big one for Pixar. They have got their fingers crossed, and movie theaters have their fingers crossed too. I've talked to some GMs in the past couple of days who say they're waiting on this. They're waiting on Incredibles and then Jurassic World to save the day, because it's been a bit of a drought this summer movie season so far. This Friday is also the series finale of ABC's daytime talk show, The Chew. I've got a new blog piece that'll go up tomorrow at lights-camera-jackson.com with my thoughts on The Chew, of course, with Clinton Kelly, Michael Simon, and Carla Hall. The Mario Batali controversy, how much of a role did that play in ABC's decision to cancel The Chew? I break that all down in the blog. Also tomorrow, new LCJ Q&A podcast episode with Chris and Shane Houghton. They are the creators, they worked on Harvey Beaks, and they're the creators of Disney's new animated series on the Disney Channel called Big City Greens that premieres next Monday, June 18th. So I talk with Chris and Shane about Big City Greens. That's a very fun podcast. Look for that in the podcast section on the website, as well as iTunes and Podbean for that new Q&A tomorrow with Chris and Shane Houghton, the creators of Big City Greens. So again, Ocean's 8, $41.5 million. The Tony Awards are tonight. I think SpongeBob's going to walk away with so many of them. And Incredibles 2, look for a $150 million weekend next weekend. It's going to be huge. Thank you so much for watching this episode of LCJ Live. I'm Lights Camera Jackson. We'll see you back here next Sunday at noon Eastern for a special Father's Day edition of LCJ Live. Bye-bye.